Hey everyone, welcome to our soon-to-be-named podcast. I am Braeden Orr. Alongside me, as always, is Trey, the last of the Mohicans Smith. And yeah, I'm just gonna do that from now on. I'm just gonna call you a film title as your nickname.
Yeah, film title. I'm not gonna know anything about.
We'll just see what happens. But basically, this is going to be us just kind of talking, getting thoughts out of our minds and out of our mouths. Very stream of consciousness type stuff. We don't really have a format yet. We don't even have a name yet. So that kind of tells you where we're starting off at the moment. But this is kind of our way of talking about pop culture, whether it's film, television, music, food, drink, books, purple pants.
Yeah,
just a little bit of
that's coming out. Fashion, I guess, some too.
Fashion, with air quotes.
Whatever. Thanks. Whatever is kind of comes to the top of our mind. It kind of started. We've been wanting to do something like this for a while now. We've done. We've worked together on various film projects, and the idea is to actually come up with something that we're going to be doing more on a consistent basis. We both have a lot of time on our hands. We're actually recent graduates, so we're
that
going
means
through.
We're unemployed.
Yeah, we're going through that whole awkward time in life, trying to figure out what we're doing with ourselves, and we thought it might be fun to bring people along for the ride, and kind of a place where we can bitch and moan, and you can bitch and moan with us, and kind of join in, us millennials kind of all banding together, especially here in the southeast where we're from, and if you have any jobs or anything as well, let us know, because we're both available.
This whole thing is actually just a ploy to get income and revenue and to find employment.
Right.
But I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of pop culture podcasts where it's very much, here's the podcast, this is what it is, and so on and so forth. But for us, we do want to make a more professional, better looking format. Our backgrounds are in production and film, so I've worked in a studio setting before, and I certainly would like to have a format and setting, but we really don't know what we want. And so what we want to do is experiment, try new things. We're recording this on video. It may not be a video podcast. It may be an audio podcast. It may be both. I don't know. We may film everything here. We may film everything somewhere else. We don't know. This is our way of discovering the format, the way we want to use the format, and this is allowing you, the audience, to kind of join us in that journey and kind of let us know what works, what doesn't, and if we're worth listening to.
If we're worth listening to, because my background is actually I do a lot of film. It's funny, Braeden is more of the big film buff. I have a background just from interacting with my dad on going on different sets. He does a lot of industrial work. So I have a little bit more experience on the production end of things. He has stuff on the directing end of things. But my background is something totally on the other side. I love photography. I'm big into photography. It's more of a hobby. But my background is in technical writing, which is about as dry and away from film that you can really get. It's not the most creative work in the world. But
I'm sorry, I fell asleep there for a second.
Yeah. So, but we have done media work together, and so yeah, I mean that's kind of where I come from.
Yeah, it's we first met doing theater actually on stage.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our background is really doing a lot of everything, and that's kind of what this podcast is. It's talking a little bit about everything. Although I question talking a little bit about everything that's in pop culture. Being in a location with an Aragon poster, I don't know if that really indicates that we have any idea what we're talking about. But I want to just point out that I don't live here. This isn't my room, and these aren't my posters, so I do not condone the artwork behind us.
So this is my house. The kind of story behind this is it's the only actual movie poster that I have right now that came that you would see at any movie theater that you're going to be going and seeing, and so I actually got this at a White Elephant, and at the time, Aragon was a big thing. The first book had come out, I think, Eldest, and I'm a big fan of the Inheritance Cycle, actually. As a book, the Inheritance Cycle it's really cool. It comes from a homeschool. I was homeschooled in high school. So it comes from a homeschool writer who was about my age when he was writing these books, and then it got turned into a movie. Granted, it was a horribly produced, horribly written, really kind of took the book and pretty much just shot it, and I was devastated. However, my brother really, really liked Aragon. Not necessarily the movie, but the book as well. So I ended up giving it to him, and it just kind of ended up in our media room where we watch a lot of movies and things. And it's got the, the center point for this, but it's not necessarily my favorite film.
Trey is blissfully unaware that there's this new fangled invention called the internet, where you can actually buy movie posters for reasonable rates.
What's internet?
You should look it up on the internet. Al Gore invented it. Because jokes from the 1990s are in vogue nowadays. But that's the type of humor you're gonna have to deal with. But we're talking about movies. Since we're kind of on the topic of a bad movie, let's talk about a good movie, because the Oscars are coming up, and so that's usually the time of year when we talk about your favorite films of the past year. So while we look at that, because this is kind of a weird year when you look at the front runners of Oscars, because there's usually several mainstream films that are the front runners that everyone loved or everyone saw and they made a lot of money. But this year's been really interesting because it's a lot of independent films. So just kind of segueing to that.
And then all the big films that made all the money weren't necessarily what's going to get nominated for an Oscar. For example, you got The Hunger Games, that came out, the third Hunger Games, and which, Mockingjay, it was an okay book. I think the third book was terrible, in my opinion, but it made a lot of money. Then you have Sniper that just came out, last week, and it made a lot of money. It grossed the most out of any January film, but it's not necessarily work that's going to get recognized in the Oscars, I don't think.
I think that's fine, because so many times it's, oh look, it made a lot of money.
Yeah. Well,
that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best film, and so independent film tends to get left out, just because, not even because it didn't make a lot of money, but because these films don't play in that many theaters. So the voters don't have the opportunity to see them. Now it's changed because of the internet age, because now it's a lot easier to send out screeners to people, and it's a lot easier to see the films. It makes it a little difficult when looking at like scores and all that.
Yeah.
Because there's so many options, and that's just why the voting for that tends to be a little weird. But like I said, this was a really interesting year because you're finally seeing where you have a lot of really unique films that you never really thought you'd see, or Boyhood,
which has been in production for literally years, which has been that's what makes it so unique and amazing.
And I actually didn't know this because it was a planned 12-year shoot from the start. It was a planned 12-year shoot. The name of the movie was actually originally going to be 12 years, but then 12 Years a Slave came out last year, and so didn't want any confusion with that. So title change to Boyhood. That's neither here nor there, has absolutely nothing to do with anything, but I thought that was a fun little factoid. But yeah, and Boyhood is a brilliant film. We were talking about this earlier. It's one of those things where it should win Best Picture, and I think if it doesn't,
there's only one other film that I could see that I think deserves it. But
yeah, there's. I won't say it'd be a travesty. Right. I would be shocked if it didn't win Best Picture. At the very least, Richard Linklater deserves to win Best Director. You spend 12 years of your life putting this movie together, and it's one of those things where
never been done before either.
Not to this extent.
Right.
It really hasn't, because there's several films that have taken 20 years to make, but they're all different short films altogether. They're all these anthology type films, but never a consistent story. And watching it, my main concern was that it would feel very disjointed, both in the way it was shot, because you're shooting over 12 years, technology changes, style changes. You figured that would come to play. It didn't. And that the story would be disjointed, but it's really not. Everything flows very, very well.
And I haven't seen it yet. I really need to get it out there and see that and Birdman.
Well, it's available on Redbox now, so you can get it. There's actually a Redbox code as of right now, so I highly recommend you actually use the free code and rent it. It's well worth a free rental. Worth way more than a free rental. And the thing about it is, watching it, there's only about 2 years difference between me and the main character. So what I liked about it was it shows a lot of pop culture growing up. So you see him playing Game Boy Advance SP, then Xbox. You see him go to a midnight premiere of a Harry Potter book release.
Yeah.
And these are all experiences that I remember having as a kid. And so watching it, I felt like I was watching myself growing up. And that's not something
I've ever...
Kind of
has that Toy Story effect.
A little bit.
Toy Story had, it had the three books, and I was the age of Andy almost throughout the entire series of of Toy Story growing up. So, like, the first movie was great. You know, that's like the first movie I really seriously remember loving and enjoying. And it was one of the first Pixar movies, and I'm a huge fan of Pixar. As you can see, The Incredibles. I hope they come out with Incredibles 2, just another aside there. But moving. I mean, you got Toy Story 2, which, you know, it wasn't necessarily as good as Toy Story 1, but it was good in its own right.
Oh, yeah.
That was the thing. It had a different story, but it had the same characters, different story, and it was fun. And then the third movie, and I remember going into the movie theater and choking up in the very last scenes, and if you haven't seen it, shame on you, because it's been out for 5 years now, so you need to go see it. But when Andy goes off to college, and that was the summer, I was getting ready to move to college, doing the exact same thing, and it was just like, oh, like this really huge feels moment for me.
Yeah.
And I have to think that Boyhood probably has a lot of similar things, and I need to go see it.
Yeah.
About the only Best Picture nominee that I've seen is Grand Budapest Hotel, which was my favorite film of last year for sure.
And just kind of piggybacking off the Toy Story thing, because I was the same way. Toy Story was the first movie I remember going to the theater and seeing. I was obsessed with it. I had all the toys. My room was painted.
I had
1995. I had my room painted like Andy's, the blue sky, the white clouds. I mean, my room was a Toy Story room. And then Toy Story 3, like I said, that was the summer I was going off to college, and so I basically saw my entire life through that trilogy of film. And I mean, I'm man enough to admit this. When the movie got near the end, I wept. I like openly wept at the film, and I don't usually cry at movies. I do consider the emotional experience in film, and I take it very seriously. But I'm not one to openly weep with a film. I cried like a baby with Toy Story 3. So that's one of only 2 films that make me cry. The other one's another animated film. There's something about animation, I guess, that makes me
something that grabs your childhood and grabs your inner child, I think.
Yeah, the other one was Mary and Max, this wonderful Australian stop motion animated film featuring Philip Seymour Hoffman. Actually, brilliant film. But yeah, you mentioned Grand Budapest Hotel, and that was.
And before we get into that, just to give a little bit of background. I love film. I love watching it, but I'm more of the casual viewer. Braeden, that's his life. I'm more of your jack of all trades. My big thing is doing photography, and you know, you can catch me on Instagram, 3RD photography or third photography on Instagram.
Cheap plug.
Yeah, shameless plug right there. Braeden doesn't do as much Instagram, but
no, but I do Facebook, such as Single Serving Pictures, or you can go to singleservingpictures.com or braedenor.com, because I'm also a struggling actor, so you can check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said Grand Budapest Hotel was your favorite film of the year. You know, definitely. Why? You know, what made it stand? Are you in general? Are you a Wes Anderson fan?
You know, I can't really say that I am or not, because, like I said, I'm more of a casual. I'll go and I enjoy. I don't necessarily know a lot of the background of a lot of the producers and actors. I know some. You know, everybody knows who Morgan Freeman is. Everybody knows who, you know, like the Coen brothers, the Coen brothers and what they do. But when I saw it, just the visual take and I also have a background in acting and doing like stage acting, and just the way that the actors interacted with each other, the way that it was shot was just so beautifully done. And being a photographer myself, I've just seen the aspect of, you know, it being shot. That's what really, really caught me. But it was the flow, and I'm a sucker for good British humor, and that was just some amazing, dry, off-the-cuff sort of stuff that they just threw in there that was, it wasn't overly crass, but you got these awkward moments that British humor throws in there. You got sort of the slap, you know, gag stuff, but it wasn't like overly done. It was just every aspect was thought out. You know, it was now in a whole nother realm. You know, you have Interstellar that was every little bit had something to do with the next. You know, I think that Grand Budapest Hotel kind of had a similar vein, because everything kind of came full circle for that that movie.
And the visual thing, because I won't say that I'm a huge Wes Anderson fan. Not that I don't like his work, but I haven't. And there's always the filmmakers who they say, "How have you not seen that movie?" Even someone who loves film, and I haven't seen his earliest stuff. But I've seen some of his most recent work, such as Moonrise Kingdom, Life Aquatic.
I need to see Moonrise Kingdom.
Absolutely love the films. But Grand Budapest Hotel to me visually is his masterpiece. Every shot looks like a painting, like a storybook picture, and it's astounding. And even without the story, without the characters, without the acting, just visually, it's such a treat.
It's so stunning, and just the locations that they picked for it, and just the changing aspects of, like, they have like some stop motion. Well, it wasn't stop motion, but some similar like stop motion pieces that they threw in there, and it blended so well, using the aspect ratio to change with the times, and the lighting effects too, because it was very stage-like in the way that they did the lighting. We both actually attended college together. We went to Mercer University, and one of the best lighting directors,
hands down,
is one of the professors at Mercer, and she does some amazing, beautifully lighted stuff. And I saw a very similar correlation to the stage lighting in Grand Budapest Hotel, and it's hard to do that on film.
Oh yeah, definitely, it's extremely difficult. It well earned its Golden Globe for Best Comedy. And,
absolutely, I'm glad it grabbed that.
And I wish Wes Anderson would win that Best Director award that he's long deserved. But like I said, Richard Linklater deserves it for Boyhood, so I don't think it's going to happen. Now my favorite film of the year, and it's interesting because of films like Boyhood and Grand Budapest Hotel and Birdman, you would think my favorite film would be something like that, but I always pick the film I enjoyed the most. Even if it's not something that necessarily changed my life or anything like that. It's the one that I thought, I just love this film. And for me, that was Guardians of the Galaxy. And I know a lot of people love the film. It was one of those...
I'm going to say something controversial here. Out of all the Marvel movies that have come out, I'm going to say that Guardians is my absolute favorite. I know Avengers was awesome. I know Iron Man.
I agree with you 100%. I disagree with one thing you just said, and that's going to be the controversial thing. I thought Avengers was mediocre. I didn't think it was very good. I thought... And
it was already done, wasn't it?
And the reason I say it is because it was so hyped, and it wasn't a bad movie. I say it was mediocre. It was very underwhelming. It lacked the plot it probably needed.
But
and
Guardians
even
was surprising because everybody thought, oh well, this is just going to be this goofy, silly little thing. It's just going to be like this B movie. That's what I went in there expecting. But it surprised me, and it was the humor in that was just. Oh yeah, awesome!
And I expected a very humorous film. It is a James Gunn film. I expected something almost Troma-esque in a sense of humor. But and we got it. And we also got a cameo from Troma's Lloyd Kaufman, who actually tweeted out a link to a film I was in, which is pretty cool. But what I wasn't expecting was visually the film's a treat.
Yeah,
the action's great. The characters actually had a lot of depth, and
more so than I was expecting. There was some good feels in that movie.
The stuff with Peter Quill and his mother. I mean, it choked me up a little bit. I was like, this is the very first 5 minutes of the movie. I'm like, man, this is pretty sad. I wasn't expecting this from a movie with a talking tree and raccoon that fight bad guys throughout the galaxy.
I am Groot.
So that was the worst Groot impression I've ever heard in my life.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. But you got all the Reddit people building Groots out there.
Yeah.
Any Redditors out there.
It made me want to plant a tree. I'm not an environmentalist, but I was like, I want to go plant a tree now.
Yeah.
But it was a film that worked on a lot of levels. It fit with Marvel, but it still felt like a James Gunn film. And he's one of those directors who, he does his own thing. He is a very unique director, and so I'm really glad to see these independent film directors who do these really bizarre, out there stuff. Like
there's a second Guardians that's supposed to come out 2 years from now, actually.
Yeah, he's already writing it, and I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, that was my favorite film of the year.
Star-Lord. Love that. I like that group better than I do the Avengers.
I can't necessarily disagree because
they mesh better.
As if time just stopped and restarted with a break in between.
I don't think Nikon likes filming. It got annoying.
Apparently we broke the time limit. So here we are again. I believe we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Guardians.
We're talking. I don't know. See, that's the thing about this. When I said where it's all very off the cuff, we're kind of discovering our voices here and just kind of shooting the breeze about film and everything else. So that's kind of what we're doing now. And yeah, I don't know what we were just talking about even.
I think we were somewhere with trees and Groots in the ensemble cast.
The ensemble cast, yes, Trey. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The ensemble cast. With a film like this, there's always the one character who kind of steals the show. And going into it, you're like, oh yeah, it's going to be this character, it's going to be this character, it's going to be this character. And you actually watch the movie with Guardians, and it's like every character did it.
Yeah, you really can pick and choose which one that you're really going to follow and you're going to like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Groot and Rocket, that they're doing their own thing. I like Star-Lord just because it's Star-Lord, and then, they had the love interest, but it all came together. Everybody, I guess the theme for me today is that, the blending of films together, but compared to Avengers, a lot of individuals. I think I can draw a real life correlation here.
Okay.
Let's compare the Atlanta Hawks to the Guardians of the Galaxy, and
the Atlanta
let's
Falcons
say
are the Avengers.
Huh?
Is that what the Atlanta Falcons are the Avengers?
Well, no, not the Falcons, but let's say the Cavs, the Cavaliers. That they have they have the big stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Hawks have absolutely nobody right now that's on.
But they're successful.
But they're they're on the longest running winning streak of the franchise, which is awesome. They are selling out. They're doing a great job, but nobody made it to the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
On the team. It's a team effort. They're doing a great job. Nobody's outplaying each other. They all play together. Compared to like the Avengers, which in their own right, they're fun to watch. But you have that one star, Iron Man, that kind of takes over the whole film.
Well, or you can look at, it doesn't really apply now because he's left, but when LeBron James was playing for the Heat, where you had you had the team of superstars,
that was kind of like the
but it was
Avengers.
Individuals. Yeah. So I that's actually not a bad example. Although I think those who are interested in comic book movies probably don't really give two craps about the sports metaphor.
Right.
But no, you're on the right track. Although I do have to wonder, kind of keeping with the sports metaphor, who would be the Atlanta Falcons?
The Atlanta Falcons. That's gonna be DC Comics.
I would say if we're keeping it to a team, I would say it's the Fantastic Four. Because lots of potential, but completely disappointing when they actually see them.
Yeah, I mean, or these, I didn't see. I saw X-Men First Class. You could almost correlate it to the X-Men movies because the first X-Men movies, great. First years of having Matt Smith that was the head coach. First couple of years, he was great. He was doing awesome.
So we're talking about X-Men.
I'm comparing.
I'm so confused.
No, I'm comparing X-Men to the to the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
Because the first couple of years, the first few films of X-Men, great. The first 3 films, awesome.
Oh, okay. Let me stop you right there. The first 2 films, but okay.
But then you come around to the 3rd film. And you come around and Matt Smith and you needed to cut and you needed to start over. And X-Men did, and hopefully the Falcons will do that too.
We'll see. So see, this is you're going to get a little bit of everything on this podcast. We'll talk a little bit about sports. I'm not big on the professional sports. I'm a big college football fan, but now college basketball, we're huge Mercer Bears fans as 2 alumni of Mercer University who beat Duke. So we had, not that Mercer gets any of the recruiting money that Duke does.
Yeah,
but we take the victories we can get.
We have a better coach.
We do have a great coach.
I love that coach.
But anyways,
Hoffman is awesome. Hoffman's hooligans. And yeah, that was so much fun. I wish we would have done better in that game.
Yeah, if any of you who don't follow college basketball, Mercer University is not a big school.
We're
and
4,000.
Yeah,
4,000.
And certainly not a big sports school. But we managed to beat Duke, who was a favorite to win the whole tournament by a lot of people.
And we destroyed them.
Yeah, we beat them, and We actually went up the next day or two afterwards. We drove up. Was an 8-hour bus ride.
Oh
to
God,
Raleigh.
that was terrible. I had to sit next to
you.
You
had to sit next to me for 8 hours.
hours.
And then you didn't ride. Did you ride next to me on the way back?
Yeah, I did.
You did. I couldn't remember because I think you were asleep, and I watched Mystery Science Theater 3000 on the way back.
Yeah, I was asleep.
But fun ride. We lost, but fun trip. But that's kind of what you'll get from us is just life, people,
sayings, things,
boring stuff you really don't care about. But we'll hopefully distract you from your mundane life with our mundane lives.
Yeah.
But
kind of that Seinfeld effect. That's kind of what we're going for here. If you're a Seinfeld fan,
what's the deal with podcast? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But kind of change gears since we're talking about life. Why don't we talk about our own lives for a second?
God. Do we have to?
We don't have to talk about your sex life or anything like that. There's, we want to actually talk about a lengthy topic here.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
but some of the things we've done, for example, I mentioned earlier that I do act, and so some of the projects and such that we've
okay.
worked on.
So we're currently in post-production for a short film that we've worked on that we're moving forward with. Hopefully, we're hoping to put it in a few film festivals.
Probably small ones. It's a short film, and it's kind of a
it's a singular plot. It kind of it's a single move. There's not really a super in depth. It kind of just jumps in the middle.
It's a small, nice little film.
It's a good ending.
Yeah, it's a good ending of a future project.
If you think of the whole project and what the whole project is, and then you take the last, what was it, like 10, 15 minutes?
About 12, 13 minutes.
Yeah, it's right there. It's like this right here, which is yeah. But
but that's about what it is.
Yeah,
but it's a nice little film. I'm happy with it. For the most part. There's always.
It's my first time using a glide cam.
Yeah. So there's stuff.
So there you go.
There's stuff where it's like I would have fixed this and I would have done this, but we can't fix it. We can't change it. So it is what it is. So we'll submit it to a few small film festivals. We're not going to be one of those who are like, this is the film that's going to revolutionize everything. Because it's not.
But it's not a schmuck film either.
No, but it's not a schmuck film. I think the performances are quite good.
The actors that we got for it are top notch.
The actors did a great job. And I don't...
set?
I think the location...
We could have done better with the cars.
We probably could have done better with the cars, but we lost our cars last minute. So
I'm glad we had the Stang though.
Yeah,
that helped.
We had a Mustang, so that was good. But it's a nice little film that I'm happy with as our first attempt at doing something a little more professional, a little more planned ahead. I think it was a good test. Say, okay, now we know what worked and what didn't work.
We learned a lot. We actually got to just give an idea. We've tried and
failed.
Unsuccessfully done or failed. Yeah, just flat out failed. Trying to get a couple of projects off the ground. We tried to do a full-fledged feature-length film.
Horrible decision.
Yeah. And you can see the trailer for it here. And it was edited by my brother, who has moved on. He's now getting his computer science degree.
Sounds like he died. He's moved on now.
He has moved on now.
So the other side of the educational
and then we tried to do another project, which we're not going to talk too much about because we're going to try to redo it and make it better.
Yeah, some of the projects are just things where when you're doing it in an educational setting,
school really screwed us. In both of those projects.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Now that we're gone from school and we've kind of made a few more connections and worked on a few more projects, the likelihood and the ability and the connections have been made to really do the projects in a better manner.
Yeah.
I worked on a short film called 7 Card Stud, written and directed by Don McGraw, who you may recognize if you're a fan of B horror movies. He played Stonewall Jackson in Abraham Lincoln vs. Zombies. And
which actually got a lot of publicity for what it was. A lot of people know about it.
It's an asylum film. It's probably the best asylum film they've ever made. But we were talking about it because he was supposed to be in one of the projects, and we worked together frequently.
And unfortunately, if you're religious or not, just keep in his thoughts. He's been having some health problems over the last year or so. So keep him in your thoughts if that's your thing, and pray for him if that's your thing. Really great guy. He's trying to get his own studio set up, and he's helped us out good bit in getting connections.
He's done a lot for us in helping us with equipment, with people and connections, and kind of looking over stuff and giving his experience where he has decades of experience that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's been a big help, and that's the thing we're talking about. I was like, I've had these multiple failed projects where I was going to do a feature film, it didn't work. I was going to do the short film, it didn't work. I was going to do this other short film that didn't work, and they failed miserably. But I learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
And so it sucks, and you beat yourself up over it, and you hate yourself for it. But you sit back and you look at it and like, you know what? No, it didn't work, but now I know.
Yeah.
And so the next project you do, that one's going to be...
You learn the most from doing experience. And, you got to kind of... You got to fall down a couple times before you get up and you can run. Or walk or,
Or you just crawl in our case. Yeah. So,
we're crawling now.
We're definitely crawling. But I think the next project we do, whenever that may be... I think it's going to be something that's good. I mean, I have like 10 different ideas lined up for stuff.
Yeah, he's got ideas, and I'll be there in more of a production or supporting capacity.
So, when we get there, I think they'll look a lot better, they'll sound a lot better, and just all around to be a lot more enjoyable. And hopefully those will gain some traction within the community. And that's the thing now is that I'm actually currently in school again. Getting my master's at Savannah College of Art and Design. So now that opens up another avenue of talent, equipment, and professors and such with experience and connections. So hopefully we'll be able to put together some really great things.
And I'm recently unemployed again. I actually found something relatively quickly for a recent grad, but it wasn't a good fit. I was doing sales. I now know that I don't want to do sales. So that's kind of a new transition, and it's a frustration, but I know that I just got to move forward, and that's what life is you can't take life too seriously, and no matter what, and everybody's going through hard times now. No matter what the government says, a lot of folks are still having a hard time.
Let's try to make this a little political podcast.
Oh, well, like I said, we're going to go everywhere here. But, they say, that the economy is supposed to be recovering. Where I'm from, I'm having a hard time. And I was able to find something, but it wasn't what I was looking for. And, so I'm out there, getting myself out there, trying to find something that I'm going to be able to make a career out of. And... it's tough, but I'm excited. I think that, when one door closes, another one opens, and that's definitely what's going on here. And as long as I find something that's solid in the next 6 months, I'll be happy. The fiance will be happy. Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, she's finally gonna make an honest woman out of you. But and see that's kind of the thing with this podcast is, like I said, we're still trying to figure out the direction we want to go. But pop culture is obviously the thing we'll probably be focusing on. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But sometimes you want to talk a little bit about life because that's the thing that maybe someone needs to hear. They need to hear something about someone's life and how it can apply to them. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that in the future. Although I expect maybe a little more pop culture stuff.
And maybe it will be something like, wow, my life isn't as shitty as this guy's.
It's like, man, look at these two idiots on the internet.
Right.
Man, those
Making
guys
fools of ourselves.
suck. So, maybe that'll help you out.
Yeah,
but
self-deprecating humor there.
That's pretty much all I do.
Self-defecation.
You got me. You got me there. All right. Now, that's one thing I do want to mention, though. When we're talking about formatting, because I said, we're trying to figure out format, and we have a lot of friends and acquaintances involved in the entertainment industry.
Yeah. I have some young movie folks, young video folks doing video production, doing electronica.
We got movies, videos, video games. Authors, music, a little bit of everything. So one thing we want to do is kind of highlight independent talent and local talent, and then people who also have experience with like distribution and things of that nature. So to kind of
and older folks that have experience. Like maybe we can interview my dad. I don't know if you want to be on something like this, but my dad has getting close to having 40 years experience in the industry. Yeah. So maybe if you're out there and you're a young gun trying to get your way, hearing the experience of somebody that has been there, done that, seen a bunch of different things, and kind of give a reality to the situation. Maybe that'll help somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe it won't. I don't know. That's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to figure out what we want to do.
Yeah, we want to just obviously we want to talk and entertain ourselves. But we also
the majority of this.
That's majority of what we're doing.
No idea what we're doing.
But we'd also like to provide some sort of either assistance or knowledge or something to those watching this or listening to this or what have you. And so that's definitely what we want to do. We definitely want feedback, so we know, all right, this works, this doesn't. They want more of this, they want less of this. So we can provide entertaining content, but also stuff that maybe is informational, educational, inspirational. And just the whole gamut of what have you. As Trey is experiencing technical difficulties.
I'm just trying to check my email just annoying.
Because that's what you do when you're recording a podcast for the
Yep.
masses of the internet. You check your email.
Well, job search, I want to see if anything's coming out.
So please, if you're hiring, we have 2 unemployed people here who are looking for work, who are desperate and are checking their emails for job postings.
Yep,
While
nothing.
recording a podcast, it's gotten that bad.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm back.
But yeah, so like I said, we just want to provide information and inspiration, perspiration, and
maybe moving forward here, we've talked a lot about video, but some of the other topics that we thought of getting into is also independent music and also photography. I'm the big photographer. Like I said earlier in the show, I do a lot of stuff. I'm the most active on my Instagram account, including actually I have a New Year's resolution. My New Year's revolution.
There's actually a WWE pay-per-view, which hey, we'll talk about wrestling too. Trust me, because that's big pop culture for me. It may just be me sitting here talking while he sits there going, "Yeah." Okay.
While I check my email again.
Yeah.
But no, I have a modest following on Instagram, which is Third Photography, 3RD Photography. I dabble mostly in doing black and white work there, as I pulled it up on my computer here. And so if you want to follow me or go check out my work, you can see a lot there.
There's currently a very lovely photo of me on there that you took today.
Yeah, I did. And like I said, my New Year's resolution is actually to try to take a picture a day for the entire year, and then my idea is to actually have a huge collage of all the pictures that I took throughout the entire year and put it all in one and just see what comes out. So I got a lot of black and white on here. That's really where I have a lot of my artsy stuff. I do a lot of black and white work. I also do some more professional side of things. I've done stuff for I did a blight project while I was still at school. So blight, for example, is just old rundown buildings. Urbex is another term for it. In the journalistic realm, they call it blight, and that's what they were calling it at Mercer. In the photography realm, it's urbex, which is urban exploring, looking at different wrecked and destroyed things, which, surprisingly, you see a lot around here. We don't need to go into economics for a second time here, but it's an interesting thing, and you can find the beauty in the decay, in urban decay, I have found. You can find some of that work on my Behance.net profile, which is by the same name. If you search Third Photos or Third Photography, you're going to find me there. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm not sure, do you do much on Twitter? I'm kind of all over the social media realm.
Pretty much all my social media stuff is Braeden or my name, since like I said, I act and direct, so I keep it pretty simple. I'm not super active on Twitter. I try to do a little bit of stuff on Facebook. I currently have a Tumblr where I talk about Blu-rays and movies. I'm an avid Blu-ray collector.
How many do you have in your collection right now?
I hit exactly the other day. Someone gave me some free stuff, and it was very nice, including Gone Girl. But I hit exactly 600.
Excellent.
So I have a lot of Blu-rays.
Yeah.
But the thing about it, this is my New Year's resolution, is I as a collector, you tend to collect more than you actually watch, or at least at a faster rate. So I'm trying to get through my entire collection. I've been pretty good. I've watched, I think like 14 films this year.
Okay.
So, I'm trying to get through my entire Blu-ray collection and watch all the films that I haven't seen before. And, what I'm doing right now is doing decade by decade. So I watched a film from the 40s, then the 50s, and the 60s, and the 70s, and the 80s. And so now I'm at the 90s.
And you're going to start over?
So, again, then I'm going to go back. Because I thought I was just doing 40s all the way through. But, I wanted to mix it up, have a little more variety. So, like, first I watched Alfred Hitchcock's Rope. Which is made to look like it's one long continuous take, much like Birdman, which is kind of interesting timing that.
I still need to see that. I've heard.
I know.
We should do that.
We do. We need to.
We should do
it Tuesday.
And then we can actually talk about film, and then we can bore you with us talking about film more.
Yeah. Day the Earth Stood Still, the original Little Shop of Horrors, not the musical, but the Roger Corman film. Smokey and the Bandit, which filmed in my hometown. I actually went to preschool on the same street they filmed one of the scenes. And then Big Trouble in Little China. So, wide variety of films there. But so that was my New Year's resolution. It'll take a little bit longer than yours, probably, since yours is snapping a photo. Mine's watching a 2-hour movie a day, basically. But
maybe you don't need to be doing it a day. But
no, well, and I haven't been. I didn't today, I didn't yesterday, but one day I watched...
Maybe 3 a week would be a good.
Well, I watched 3 in one day the other day.
Wow.
So, if you have nothing to do, and
Jeez.
you're like me, because I'm the kind of person who really enjoys film, whether it's making it, talking about it, or watching it. But we talked a lot about film. We talked a little about photography.
Music.
We talked.
We were gonna
talk a little bit about music. Me personally, my relation to music is more is a visual element and how it relates in film. And when I hear songs like, "Oh, this would be great for this type of scene," or blah blah. Or I'm making a film like I need a song that fits here. So my knowledge of music is probably not near as good as yours because mine is usually related to a pop culture.
And that's saying something because my relation to music is nowhere near some of my other friends. Because shout out to like Drew Ford, who's another huge Instagram. He's kind of started the whole musicians on Instagram movement, or he's been a part of that. If you know what I'm talking about, if not, go check him out. He's that Viola Kid, I think, on Instagram. So I'm giving him a free shout out. Another Mercerian, another good guy. He's actually at the Juilliard School of Music now doing that.
So he knows his stuff.
Yeah, he knows his stuff. He is a prodigy when it comes to doing viola work. And viola, if you're not familiar, is a string instrument just a little bit larger than a violin. So it hits sort of the more mellow notes, but man, he has some deeper, really nice sounding stuff that he's been able to do. But then my brother is huge into knowing a lot of the indie and what's coming out. And for example, just to throw something out there, and I don't think he knows about this yet, but March 3rd, Purity Ring is coming out with their new album, and I am excited.
March 3rd.
Yeah, I'm excited
for
Purity Ring.
Purity Ring.
Oh man, they have some great stuff. It's kind of electro pop. Mostly electro pop, and it's kind of like this deep, brooding, sort of grungy, not grungy sounding, but the lyrics are it's very high poppy, but it's like these deep, brooding sort of lyrics, and the mix mash of the lyrics and the way that it sounds with this electro pop sort of bright and colorful sound really kind of just it's a great contrast. I really like Purity Ring. Churches is very similar. They've kind of taken off with Dead Air, which is actually, relating this to our film discussion, it's their biggest selling track, and it's because they got curated with Lord for the soundtrack for Mockingjay, the Hunger Games. So I think they're either the second or third track on the film score, the film track that Lord created. And Lord is awesome, by the way. She's that young gun out there.
I am Lord Yi. Do you watch South Park?
No.
Okay, then you probably that went way over your head. I'll show you later. It's
okay.
Pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, she curated that, and Churches has kind of taken off from there. You have Cold War kids, and I love listening to vinyl. Vinyl is awesome. Like Vampire Weekends, Vampires of the City. sounds so much better on vinyl. It just has that nice sound and it fits. And hearing like the super alto sax that they put in there and some of the unique instruments that Vampire Weekend uses, and hearing that on vinyl, nothing better. Am I boring you?
Well, all these band names you're naming are really weird. So you know that game you play with the random Wikipedia article? I just want to see what my indie band name would be.
Yeah, that was such a stupid assignment. Such a stupid assignment. That guy, man.
That assignment I didn't mind because it was pretty funny.
I
but
couldn't stand that.
Everyone has that one professor who you just...
Oh.
Yeah, that's
God.
about it.
Why?
Yeah, so if we started a band, our band name would be Dirk Hoffmeister. It's a competitor for West Germany, the 1988 Olympics. I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
So, but yeah, so kind of talk about, you mentioned film score a little bit, and so that way I'm kind of involved in the conversation at least a little bit. What is your personal favorite, not necessarily film score, but film soundtrack?
Mine?
Mm-hmm, that you can encompass
Skyfall, actually. Different, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that's more of a recent thing. But Adele did the beginning, and
right.
I think that's one of the best. With Bond films, they always do like the intro. That's probably my favorite Bond intro for this new age of Daniel Craig.
Oh yeah.
Just the visuals and the way that it was done was great. And I'm a sucker for that Bond soundtrack, man. I love Bond, and there was just some great, and it matched well with the visuals, and there was some great camera work in that in Skyfall, and I think it won. What was it? 2 years ago, I think it won some stuff for. I think it won an Oscar.
I think it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Roger Deakins, I think, won the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his cinematography. Now is Skyfall, the song Skyfall, is that your favorite James Bond theme? Or?
I think it is, just because it fit the movie so well, and it when you think Skyfall as a Bond film, you immediately think of the Adele song. Mm-hmm. You immediately and they're two and they're together so well, and I think that's why.
It's good. I like it a lot, and I think it's certainly the best of the Craig era. I think my personal favorite is still Goldfinger, which is only like the third one. It was actually performed live at the Oscars, I believe, last year, maybe the year before. Goldfinger, that stuff, but with that actual talented person singing.
Right.
I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, you still get in some sort of singing role every single time you do something.
I do. I always end up singing in any movie I'm in. I did a horror movie. And I had to sing in it, so even though I don't sing.
That's a sucker.
Now we'll talk about that another day when the movie comes closer to release. We can talk about that for a while. But for me, my favorite film soundtrack, it's hard to pick.
Obviously, because you watch so much.
I do. Well, it's hard to pick because it's kind of changed recently because of Guardians of the Galaxy. Because the soundtrack of that film is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
It's
another one that I'm gonna throw out there, and tell me what you think out there, because a lot of you probably did go out and see Mockingjay, but I hate the rendition of
I'm sorry.
Of the mix. I forget the name of the song, but it was the Hanging Man or whatever. But that song, I think is pretty powerful, especially for the part that it has. Have you seen the movie yet? Okay. Well, the part that it has in that movie is such a strong piece. There was actually some good bit of feels, and I'm a sucker for Jennifer Lawrence, and the fact that she can actually sing just kind of, puts me out there. Don't kill me, Melissa, if you're listening to this. But
I'm sorry for laughing in the middle of what you're talking about that, and it had nothing to do with your answer. I just got a text message from my father, who is a police officer, that he just got pulled over. Probably, I don't know. Huh. So, irony, I guess. It's funny because I've only been pulled over once in my life, and it was by one of his police officers.
He probably did it on purpose.
So, huh?
He probably pulled you on purpose just to mess
No,
with you.
he just no. I won't talk about it.
Oh,
I don't think I'm legally allowed to. But no. Yeah. Now, see, I didn't like the first Hunger Games all that much. I thought it was a bit of a knockoff of Battle Royale, which is kind of the hipster thing to say. But I saw Battle Royale first before I saw Hunger Games.
Fine.
You know, and Battle Royale came out 10 years before Hunger Games, anyways. So, yeah, whatever. But it is what it is. I do need to see Catching Fire because I heard that it's better than Hunger Games.
Catching Fire is better than the Hunger Games. Catching Fire is actually my favorite book in the series as well.
See, I never read the books either. So.
You see, if you go and read the books, I would suggest go ahead and read the books before you go, especially when you see Mockingjay. Yeah, text message, job search, fiance, and all that. Yeah, sorry. Where was I?
This better be a video podcast because otherwise the audio they're going to hear for.
Well, we can do it for both and see which takes steam. But no, I was talking about the Hunger Games. Read the books. First one is okay. The second one is awesome as far as a book. Granted, these aren't like the greatest reads in the world. If you want to read something that is dark and brooding and awesome and kind of post-apocalyptic, I definitely suggest well, it's not really post-apocalyptic, but I would suggest reading as a trilogy the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I'm not sure what the actual trilogy is called, but
I'm not actually sure. And that. Okay.
Oh.
One thing I've heard some people kind of discuss is how.
I'd do that.
Huh. Hey, look! See, in the middle of recording this podcast, there's job openings.
Job openings
for Trey, not for me, but. What was I saying? A lot of people are kind of complaining. It's like every film now is an adaptation of a book.
Yeah.
And do you think that's a problem? I personally don't. As long as the movie's good, it doesn't matter.
Great Gatsby, for example.
Yeah.
I like the soundtrack for that. Moving back to soundtracks.
The reason I don't have a problem with it is it's always been that way. It's not a new thing.
No, it's not.
Look at.
But then you got superhero movies too, which is a comic book based, which is the most recent form of literature that I think has come out. Graphic novels. One of my favorite movies that's out there is Scott Pilgrim, which is a
great movie.
Amazingly done. It fits well. Another good soundtrack too. That's all about a indie band. If we're gonna go on the indie route, there you go.
And look back at even as far back, I think 1912, I believe, what Thomas Edison made the very first adaptation of Frankenstein. This silent film that was once considered lost and luckily has been found since then. It's adapting books and literature. The very first short film, like real films that weren't just like the Nickelodeons and stuff of that nature, were adaptations of books and stage plays. And the stage plays themselves are adaptations of books. You look at Dracula. It was Bela Lugosi was an adaptation of the stage play, which itself was an adaptation of the book. These are not new ideas or anything of that sort.
Or even stage stuff.
Right. It's just, I don't know why now it's become an issue.
I think people are just talking about it. People just want to bitch and moan about something.
I think it's because there is a lack of originality in a lot of ways, and so being an adaptation, that's immediately the first thought. Oh, it's not original because it's an adaptation.
Yeah, but
so I think it's a.
You still got a screenwriter still has to take that and be true to what was written and still be able to come up with something that's gonna portray well on film or on the stage.
Yeah, and I think it's just a reflexive reaction to the lack of originality, and that's the thing with me as a filmmaker.
But there's nothing original under the sun.
There's absolutely not. But it's all about how you do it. Like Tarantino kind of has the criticism that none of his films are original, and I think they're some of the most original in how unoriginal they are, if that makes any sense, because it's taking the old ideas and it's taking the old concepts and techniques and formats and reusing them in a unique way, and that's what makes it original. Because there's no such thing as an original idea. Everything has been done before. You can't name a single concept or idea that hasn't been done in some manner before. It's just a matter of presenting it in a unique, fresh way. And hopefully, and we're seeing that right now because, like I said, movies like Boyhood and Birdman, which aren't adaptations.
No, but they're unique.
But they're very unique and they're fresh. And even and then even the adaptations we have, like Gone Girl, are which is actually adapted by the author herself.
The newest Harry Potter thing that's coming out is going to be essentially written by and worked on with Rowling. So,
pretty much.
So let's leave that open. I think that's a great place to kind of stop our discussion today, and tell us what you think. Do you think that the whole debate of having movies that are adapted from books, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is there a favorite movie adapted from a book that you might like?
Is there a book or piece of literature you'd like to see adapted into a film in the future?
Right.
Do you think it stifles creativity, or do you think
people do it too quickly? I mean, the books still run out, and they've already made the first Harry Potter when Harry Potter was.
Look at Scott Pilgrim, for example.
Scott Pilgrim wasn't even done when they filmed it.
Yeah, the last book wasn't even finished, which is why the endings are different.
Aragon.
Yeah.
The whole series. There was only like the second book had just come out when that movie came out, and and bringing in our discussion full circle, which. So,
Well, that brought it full circle, but it actually led to a little bit of a controversy with Harry Potter because one of the minor characters in the books didn't have a physical description, and so when they cast the role, they cast a young black actress. No problem. Well, but then I think the sixth book, the character then all of a sudden did something and got a physical description of this young pale woman. And so for the film, they changed it to match the physical description, and kind of people lost it a little bit. But it's one of those things where when you're working on the film adaptation before the series is finished, you run into a few issues occasionally.
So tell us what you think, and hopefully we'll see you next time. And
hopefully we ramble a little less because we stopped at we're on like our third take of 20-minute runs.
Yeah, so there's going to be it might be a little bit of choppiness to it. I think we might put out both a visual version and a SoundCloud version. So if you want to hear two young guys rambling on your way to work, if you have a job,
if you don't, you can listen to us in your parents' basement, and that's where I'll probably be listening to it. Just whatever. And if you like it, be sure to tell us what you like. If you don't like it, tell us what you don't like. With as few slurs and insults as possible,
please,
if you can manage. But just appreciate your feedback and appreciate you watching us and listening to us babble on and on and on.
And so thanks for listening, and we'll hopefully we'll see you again sometime soon.
Yeah, take care.